Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining Congressman Herodopoulos' town hall. There are thousands of individuals on this call, so if you'd like to ask a question, press *3 to speak with the staffer and enter the queue. Please keep your question brief, no more than 3 sentences, and please no profanity. To give everyone a chance, we're limiting questions to 30 seconds. You can press *6 to sign up for the newsletter and stay connected on what Congressman Herodopoulos has been working on. You can always reach out to the Congressman through the Contact Me portion of our website, calling our office, or following us on social media at Rep. Haridopolos. Again, if you have a question you would like to ask, please press *3. We are now ready to begin, so I'll hand it off to Congressman Herodopoulos.
Well, thank you so much. It is great to be with everyone this evening. I hope you're having a great start to your week. It is truly an honor to represent you in the United States Congress. And again, thank you for making the time to share my opinions with you. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to answering your questions. This town hall is about you, your concerns, your ideas, and the issues that matter most. So remember, if you want to ask a question, please press *3 to connect with our staff, and they'll assist you in taking the question. But as a new member of Congress, I want to start by saying how honored I am that you have placed your trust in me to serve you in Washington, D.C. And since taking the office, my focus has been to bring common sense solutions to Washington that reflect the values and priorities of the people that I have the honor of representing. Over the past few months, I've been working to pass common sense policies like securing our border, supporting law enforcement, keeping tax dollars in your pocket, and growing our economy. It's been over 6 months since I took office, and my focus has been simple: deliver results for the Space and Treasure Coast in Florida. In Washington, I voted for major bills to protect your paycheck, secure the border, stop voter fraud, crack down on fentanyl, and cut reckless spending. Most notably, we just passed what's called the One Big Beautiful Bill, a game-changing package that puts Americans to work and puts America first. It has delivered historic tax cuts for the middle class and small businesses, making it easier to save, invest, and get ahead. It secures our border, and as you probably know, we've actually reduced the number of people coming through the border by 99% since the beginning of the year. And that also means we're cracking down on things like human trafficking and fentanyl. We've also, of course, made a huge investment in NASA, our leading economic indicator in our part of the country, a $10 billion addition to NASA in the last budget. We also reformed Medicaid. That is something known sometimes as welfare health care, which helps our most vulnerable make sure they are protected, whether they be senior citizens, nursing homes, the disabled, kids of low-income parents, and, of course, pregnant women. We've also introduced bills. In fact, I passed one on the House floor today to help small businesses grow, called the Greenlight and Growth Act. And most importantly, as far as the individual needs are concerned, we have handled over 1,100 constituent cases with a high success rate of over 90% and returned $4.6 million that was owed to you by the federal government. We want to reduce red tape and make sure if you have an issue dealing with veterans, Social Security, you name it, you call our office and we'll go to work for you. And so it's an exciting time to be your congressman, but tonight I want to reserve the time to hear directly from you. I know that it's not easy to get kind of your points out in 3 or 4 sentences, but the idea is to get as many questions answered as possible in this 1-hour time block that we have, because I have to go vote again on the floor of the United States Congress soon. But it is an exciting time. I'm so pleased to represent you, and we'll do our best to answer the questions that you have. So remember, press *3 in order to connect with our staff, and we'll take questions from you. And we look forward to that conversation along the way. So we're going to take our first caller as we get ready. Is this the first one here? Okay. Our first question is from Emily Contrast from Facebook. Why do you vote for a bill that hurts your constituents but benefits wealthy people? That was Emily's question. Well, first, let me make sure people understand what we did with the tax code. The tax rate for the highest earning Americans stayed exactly the same at 37%. The people who got the tax cut in this bill were actually folks who earn overtime, who earn tips, and have earned Social Security by working for a lifetime. And so nothing changed as far as the tax policies were concerned. But if we did nothing, if we did not pass this bill, there would have been an average 23% tax hike for Florida taxpayers. Again, 23% tax increase, meaning that the average income, average savings for a family is substantial, about 9 weeks worth of groceries. But what we focused on in this bill is saying who got hurt most the last 4 years with big inflation numbers. We help those people who earn tax tips, Social Security, and overtime. So I appreciate Emily's question, but the truth is that the rate for the rich stayed exactly the same at 37%. All right, our next question comes from James Hawk from Cocoa. Is NASA headquarters moving to Brevard County?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, James. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted your question. Go ahead.
I don't really honestly believe that Brevard County needs NASA moving in here and creating 5,000 jobs. They need to let it go somewhere else.
Well, I appreciate your opinion, James. The good news for our community is that whether it be NASA or more importantly, it's been Blue Origin, SpaceX, and so many great companies like L3 Harris and ULA have come to Brevard. Those are high-paying jobs, what they call programs that really focus on science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM programs. And we're excited about those jobs coming here because in the past, there'd be a lot of situations where people would have to leave Brevard County after they graduated from high school, or let alone college, to find those high-paying jobs. The good news is that those high-paying jobs are coming right here, Brevard County, and people, if they choose, they can live the dream right here like we're able to do in Brevard County. All right, our next question comes from Walter from Merritt Island. Your question, Walter. Walter, are you there? Walter?
I guess we're going to come back.
Okay. Is it Walter? Okay. Well, Walter's question was, will you follow the president's lead with Medicaid, ensuring all who need are protected? With Medicaid, for those, again, who don't know, Medicaid is a welfare program that helps people who are in need. They have low income and they have medical needs. The bill does not impact people who are seniors in nursing homes at all. It does not impact kids of low-income parents. It does not impact at all the disabled. It does not impact women who are pregnant. And so these are really important programs that help our most vulnerable. We did not touch those at all. The only people who might be losing Medicaid benefits are people who are here illegally, people who lied on their applications and said they were making not enough money to afford insurance, or people who refuse to work. There's a lot of discussion about the exemptions for the work requirement, but bottom line is, if you're able-bodied, you should be working. And we have incentives in place in this bill so that you can get out the skills you need to get out into the workplace. But Medicaid is a program that was wrought with fraud. You're hearing many stories about not millions, but billions in fraud. And what we've done is protect the most vulnerable. But if you're here illegally, you're not going to get health care benefits paid for by American citizens. That's just not right. And if you're an able-bodied American, you need to get on the workforce, and we're going to give you the incentives and the job training necessary so you can go out there and be an active taxpayer and help those people who are truly vulnerable. All right, our next question is from Jonathan. Jonathan, your question, my friend.
On the big, beautiful bill, how do you justify the fact that you guys gave rather large tax breaks to large corporations that would be permanent, but then when it came time to give tax breaks on your tax on tips and everything, that is only for a 2-year span?
Well, thanks for your question, Jonathan. What we did in this bill is, as I mentioned before, is really important. What we wanted to do is make these tax breaks that we got back in 2017 permanent. It was really important that people who were hard hit by the last 4 years of higher prices got helped. That's why we kept the tax policies that are in place by President Trump. Had we done nothing, there would have been a 23% on average tax hike on Florida taxpayers, and that's the last thing we need to do after 4 years of big inflation. And to make sure you understand the bill correctly too, Jonathan, I heard constantly on the floor of the House that we're giving a big tax cut to the rich. Again, the tax rate for the wealthy stayed exactly the same at 37%. The bulk of the new tax cuts went to people who earned overtime and earned tips and earned Social Security. And I will be continuing to fight for those tax cuts along the way, because we believe that when there's a tax cut, people will save, invest, and spend, and that's great for our economy. It creates new jobs and opportunities. And so I was proud to support that bill. And the other thing that sometimes people bring up, just so people know, is they say, well, this is going to increase the deficit. Well, it could increase the deficit if the economy only grew at 1.8%. But if the economy grows on the historic average of 3%, there'll actually be a surplus of revenue coming in. And I trust the American public. When you invest in them, meaning giving them more of their own hard-earned money back, that the economy grows, that's exactly what's going to happen. And as you may have read in the Wall Street Journal report right now, America's economy is literally on fire. As one of our earlier callers actually said, is, maybe we don't need more jobs in the Space Coast. I disagree, candidly. I think that there are many things that are happening, and it's because America is the best place to do business, and that's why you're seeing overseas money flowing in by not the billions, but the trillions. And so I'm excited about what we can do with this, and I think that a year from now, we're going to see this economy growing at 3%, if not more, and that will mean more jobs and opportunity. That means more people will actually be able to afford health care costs, let alone the rising costs that sometimes come with residential areas that are hot areas in the country. Our next question is from Cheryl. Cheryl, you're there on the line?
Yes, this is Cheryl. I agree with the guy that said, hi. I agree with the guy that said we don't need all these high-paying jobs. That's what's hurting Florida right now. A lot of people in Florida do not have high-paying jobs. And people that are living on senior income, they're not making a lot of money. They're not getting big pay raises. They're driving people out. They're making them poor. And yet these people that are coming in that have these high educations with these high-dollar jobs, it's just not right, because bigger is not better. And you can say all you want to. We've got more crime. We've got more people. And also with the immigration. I want to know how you stand on immigration. I don't care if they've been here 20 years, 5 years, or 15 years. If they're here illegally, I want them out of the country. They are destroying this country, and you need to stop it.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, for your question. I believe in a strong economy, and the way we do that is bringing high-paying jobs to our part of the country. Some people were concerned that we had too many service-level jobs. The great news about all of these big jobs that are coming in, these are engineering, these are science, these are math jobs, so to speak. They call them STEM programs, technology jobs, and they're high-paying jobs, making six figures right out of college. It's amazing what's happening right now, and these are the folks who can afford to pay taxes, who are going to build new houses, who are going to grow their families in A schools, which Brevard and in River County schools are. As far as the immigration issue is concerned, look, I couldn't agree more. What we need to do, if you come here illegally, there's a good chance you're going to be deported. And the idea, first and foremost, is to get rid of those criminals that not only broke the law coming here, but once here committed all types of crime. The estimates are anywhere between 2 and 10% of the people that came in are criminals. Think about 10 million people came here. We don't know their backgrounds at all, and they've created all kinds of havoc, not just here in Florida, but around the country. It's a very expensive proposition that have caused a lot of destruction, and that's why the president has been very aggressive about deporting people. Many of those very same criminals are actually being protected in sanctuary cities, and that's wrong. And so what we have done over the last few months is, one, close the border. Literally, almost no one is coming across the border anymore, and ICE has arrested now over 100,000 illegal aliens who broke the law once here, and 2,700 of them from the biggest Central American crime gang in the region. And so this is the policy we're going to have, because when you deport these people who are taking jobs from others, or you deport these people who are breaking the law, that makes America a safer and a more opportunistic place for everyone to go out and do this right. And so we're spending over $40 billion to make America safer by having a wall, to make sure that we have the officers on the front lines, making sure these people never make it across, and we keep criminals out, and we bring people in who want to contribute to society. So thanks for your question, Cheryl. All right, next we have Sheena, who's giving us a call today about a variety of issues. Sheena, you're on the line.
Hi, I had two questions. I wanted to know why Congress is taking so long to back up Trump's agenda. And the second question is when will daylight savings time be stopped so we don't have to keep going through this? Every year it gets harder and harder to adjust to the time change. It needs to stop.
Well, Sheena, thanks for your question. And first of all, on the daylight savings time, I couldn't agree more with you. I think it's a great idea to have instead of this back and forth. You know, that's when we had an economy, an agricultural economy back in the 19th century. I'm a big supporter of it. We're really optimistic that will pass, but I am pushing for it, and we support it here in the House of Representatives. As far as Trump's agenda, I've been with the president probably 5 or 6 times, if not more, over the last 6 months. I was just with him again on Friday when we passed the big what's called crypto bill. I was a proud sponsor of that, and we're working together. But the president's agenda is fully engaged. The big, beautiful bill was his agenda.
Not from my perspective.
Well, I think if you might want to talk to the president about that, because the president is very supportive of what we've done in the House of Representatives. Of the executive orders, 28 of those were codified by the big, beautiful bill. And more importantly, as you know, in the House of Representatives, we've done even more. But in the Senate, it takes 60 votes in order to get things done. The president is very pleased with the big, beautiful bill. As you saw just last week, we've also reduced spending by over $9 billion in little what they call rescissions. And it's one of the reasons why the president and I work so close together. He is putting America first. And in the House of Representatives, we're doing everything we can to support the agenda, because that's the Democratic agenda, meaning what people wanted in the election. I think it's very refreshing to see that we're actually backing up our campaign promises. Not everybody liked those promises, but when you run for office and make promises, you need to back those up. And finally, I think one of the issues that I think we really need to focus on, and I think there's work to be done, is that get rid of those judges who are in the way of the president from trying to do the right thing as they try to abuse their power as judges, acting in a very, let's just say, dictatorial manner. So these are things that have passed the House, and we're doing all we can to support the president's agenda, because that's what the American public wants, and we're doing our best to push that forward. Next, we have David from Vero Beach.
Where did he go?
David from Vero Beach, is that you?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask your question, my friend.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was inquiring about China, who has been sending pharmaceuticals over here, and it's just mind-blowing that our country would get a country like that to send the anything over there, food or whatever, that they send over here. I mean, that's just absurd. It's insane, totally insane why our leaders would get anything from China. Anything. And
well,
also, I want to know, you know, they recovered all this money that has been wasted all these years.
Well, I think we cut most of David's question there, kind of broke up a bit, but I couldn't agree more about China. We are in a de facto Cold War with China right now. They are stealing our technology. This is why we're so aggressive in making sure that we keep space superiority, that idea that we have the satellites to monitor their movements and stop some of the espionage that they attempt to do and infiltrate our military and other places, let alone our industries. The president has been very aggressive on that front. We feel the same way. And the best way to combat China is to make America the manufacturing center of the world once again. We've reduced so many bogus regulations. We reduced the red tape that's necessary. We made permitting easier for companies to come into the area. And we're making it where, again, people are investing again in the United States. China has created an unlevel playing field because they have slaves literally doing the work. And as you know, they do not have any real environmental controls either. So but the president is really making sure that we have the green light when it comes to growing our economy. The stronger our economy becomes, we will become that pharmaceutical center, because we all learned the hard way during COVID just how, let's just say, not only deceptive, but how devious the Chinese could be as they hid this information as that pandemic was going on. And so, David, I'm glad you asked that question. They are a major concern, and it's one of the reasons why we need to build up our military, because the best way that we keep peace is having a fantastic, strong military in place where my son, in fact, serves in the United States Air Force. Thanks for your question, David. Next, we have Fred Baker is on the line for us. Fred, you're up next, my friend.
Hi, Mike, Congressman Mike. I appreciate everything you are doing, and Stephanie also. I know she's quite busy up there with you.
Sure.
I'd like to know about the changes that were made in the House bill or in the budget bill concerning Social Security. I don't understand the no tax deal.
Sure.
Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, sure. Fred, first and foremost, one of the first things we did when we looked at this bill is we said we are not going to undercut the promise that was made for Medicare and Social Security. Remember, those are not welfare programs, as you know. Those are benefits that you earned for working for a lifetime. You paid taxes along the way. For over half the American public, those are the largest combined taxes that you'll pay over your lifetime for Social Security and Medicare. Those systems did not change at all. The current system you have today is the one you've earned, and we did not touch that at all. Medicaid was the only changes we made, and if you were on the call earlier, you heard that the only people who lose Medicaid benefits are those people who are legal aliens or who no longer qualify because they make too much money. But as far as Social Security is concerned, the way it works is, as you know, when you pay your taxes, you have certain deductions. And what you're able to do is that Social Security recipient, if you earn $75,000 a year or less, you're able to have a $6,000 write-off from your taxes. So when you think about that in common sense terms, if your tax or effective tax rate is, let's say, 20%, that means that $6,000 deduction will be worth at least $1,200 during the course of the year. And so what we have tried to do is say, you've earned that benefit. Let's give you more buying power, because you were probably the hardest hit because you're on a fixed income and the inflation rate was so high during the previous administration. And so we put those tax cuts in place for Social Security. So if you have questions, you can feel free to call our office at 632-1776. But in general, it just means you can write off $6,000. And if your wife is also on Social Security, that would be an additional $6,000 write-off. So as a family, you'd be saving at least $2,400 if you have a 20% tax rate. And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to reward people for doing amazing things to make this economy great and working for a lifetime. All right, next we have Rick from Satellite Beach with a question. Rick, you're up.
Hi, yes. I was just wondering what you're doing to protect my parents' Social Security and Medicare benefits.
Well, Rick, thanks for the question. I just answered that question in part with Fred, but here's the good news. We did not touch your Medicare or Social Security at all. We believe those are something that people have earned by working for a lifetime, so those are not changed. But what we are doing, as I just mentioned in our previous caller from Fred, is that if your parents have earned Social Security and they earn less than $75,000 individually or $150,000 as a couple, they will get a $6,000 deduction as an individual or $12,000 deduction as a family, and that should bring more money into their pockets immediately on their Social Security check and allow them to do more with the money that they've earned. And so bottom line is, Rick, we did not touch those benefits at all. In fact, we enhanced those because those people who are on Social Security will get an enhanced benefit moving forward. The only changes we made, again, was on Medicaid, not for the most vulnerable, like those in nursing homes or disabled, but those people who are able-bodied, we're asking them to get to work because they're able-bodied. They shouldn't be a ward of the state. So thanks for your question from Satellite Beach, Rick. All right, we have Tom asking about voter registration.
Hello. I was wondering where you stand. I was wondering where we stand. We know the invasion. They say they're not voting. New York City, people are getting driver's license, sign up to vote. Same thing in California. Is there a legal bill or something to where we can criminalize this so that we don't have illegal aliens, non-citizens voting in our election? We know they are. So I was just wondering where you stand on that. Thank you.
Well, Tom, there's nothing more aggravating than having people who are truly not American citizens voting. That's what makes our country our country. As you can imagine, the last name Herodopoulos is a Greek name, and I know if I went back to Greece tomorrow and said, hey, I'd like to come here and vote, they'd laugh me out of the room. And so what I passed is a thing called the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act was a common sense measure that only Americans vote in American elections. Sadly, in some cities across America, they're trying to allow foreigners to actually vote in their local elections. And again, that's preposterous to me because, again, people who pay property taxes, et cetera, they get their vote diminished in many forms and fashions. So to me, it's very common sense. I was a co-sponsor of that bill. The SAVE Act says only Americans vote, and there are penalties within that bill. So if you're lying about your application, et cetera, you will not get it. And even going back to my days in the state Senate, I was the one who led the fight to make sure that illegal aliens never even got a driver's license, let alone the right to vote. So, Tom, thanks for your question. And we're going to next go to Patricia in Melbourne, actually asking a question about sanctuary cities, I believe.
Yes, hi. That's correct. I'd like to know if there's any legislation in the works to formally outlaw sanctuary cities or the concept of them. It seems like this is just a ruse to circumvent federal immigration laws, and I don't even know why it's allowed to begin with and why it's gone on for so long.
I couldn't agree with you more, Patricia. I'm actually one of the co-sponsors of the bill called No Bailout for Sanctuary Cities. As you probably heard, in some of these cities, they actually protected violent criminal offenders from being deported by ICE agents. I mean, it was barbaric and preposterous, and I couldn't believe that this was going on. And so I believe that sanctuary cities undercut the rule of law. It is so counter to what I used to teach in the United States history classes at the college level. Sanctuary cities have really undercut what the rule of law is all about, and that's why we're pushing to make them illegal like they are in the state of Florida. And we're also going to make it where if they're going to continue to try to allow these things, that they're going to lose some of their federal funding because they're undercutting the rule of law and the people who have played by the rules all these years. And so sanctuary cities are an anathema to the country. They have really undercut so many amazing cities. It's one of the reasons why some of these cities are plagued by crime. You've seen some of the tragedies in places, whether it be New England or Colorado for that matter. And that's why I'm co-sponsoring the bill to make sure that we continue to crack down on those. And we simply say, look, we need to stand up for the person who's obeying the law as opposed to the people who have abused the law, not only coming here illegally, but then once here breaking the law, not just in petty crimes, but in violent crimes along the way. Remember to press *3 to ask your question, and we're happy to take those questions along the way. And again, I want to make sure that people, in case they don't know already, again, our number is 632-1776. If you have questions, we can help you. And again, we've already handled over 1,100 cases. Constituents in our district have received back over $4.6 million that they're owed by the federal government. This is our job. Sometimes we found that the federal government is not the most efficient place. So if you have a dispute, you can bring that to us, and we're finding success because of the great work we're doing back there. Next is Todd. Is asking questions, I believe, about overtime.
Yes, on that big, beautiful bill, when does it actually take effect? Is it going to be retroactive? Is it going to take effect at the end of the year? When can people look to get no taxes on overtime, which is I think a great idea.
I agree, Todd. The good news is it's retroactive. So you can, not just moving forward here in July, but looking back to January 1, you can write off those and get that tax savings as you move forward. So that is retroactive. It's not proactive, it's retroactive. We said, you know what? These folks have been working hard. We need to turn around this country. We need to reward hard work like we do with whether it be tips or overtime or Social Security. And those are the big beneficiaries of our tax cut. And we really think this will not only help the individual, but it'll help create more jobs and opportunity because you're going to go out there and save, invest, and spend. So that is retroactive. I think that's great news for you probably. And you can write those off from the beginning of the year, not moving forward. Next, we have Roger asking a question. Roger.
Yes. When and how do you plan to balance the budget?
Well, Roger, good question. If I had a magic wand, my number one goal in my tenure in Congress would be to pass a balanced budget amendment like we had in Florida. I know it's asking a lot of the people on the line, but if you recall when I was the leader of the Senate, we had a balanced budget here in Florida because it was in the Constitution. And despite a budget shortfall, we simply cut spending and we still balanced the budget and the Florida economy grew. I believe the same thing can happen here in America. And the best way we do it is by having things like DOGE, which means let's put the spending out in the sunshine. People can see where the fraud, waste, and abuse is. We also get rid of benefits or groups like illegal aliens. We reform programs like Medicaid. But the best thing we can ever do to get out of this budget crisis that I think we're in is we grow the economy. And that's why the president's been so aggressive about courting other nations to build their companies here in America, make investments in not just the capital, but more importantly, hiring American workers. Because we're the best workers in the world, and when we're put on a level playing field, American workers win, and I think the world wins, and because we are the most benevolent nation in the world, and so that is my goal. I'm a part of the group that's writing the balanced budget amendment in a common sense way that we can move forward. I think we bring more of Florida up to Washington, the better we'll do, and again, we need to start saying, you know what? Washington, D.C. is not the answer for everything. The more power we can return to the states, whether it be on education, on health care, so they can make decisions that are closer to the people, the better. And candidly, when you send the money up to Washington, like the Department of Education, too much money is spent on overhead as opposed to helping kids. The latest study said that 47% of the DOE's budget went on compliance and regulatory costs. And so that's how we do it. And Roger, let's continue to work on that together. And as you probably know, just last week we cut money out of the budget for things like NPR, because there's plenty of radio stations, let alone online stations, that people can listen to. And if they like it, the advertising dollars pay for it, or your subscription can pay for it. All right, next we have Marie from Melbourne. Marie, your question.
First, let me say, Congressman, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, Marie. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not easy what you do. My question is this. How involved are you in seeing that, quote, Alligator Alcatraz is a safe facility for those who are being detained rather than punished?
Well, what is happening there, Marie, good question, is that, there's been such an influx of illegal aliens. And as I mentioned before, over 100,000 criminal aliens, meaning those people actually committed a crime after they broke the law coming across the border. And when I talk to people like Wayne Ivey, our sheriff, we saw a situation where once they detain these people, what do they do with them? And there's just so many of them, and our jails were getting overcrowded. Flowers from Indiana County told me much the same. And so we've created these detention facilities here in Florida as well, and I think they're opening up a new one in New Jersey as well, because these people who are criminals, and many of them violent criminals with criminal backgrounds or members of gangs, the last thing we want to do is put them on parole and let them get back in the streets in places like sanctuary cities. And so we have put these in place. The information I've received from Governor DeSantis about Alligator Alcatraz is that these are safe facilities. They're air conditioned. They get fed. It's not some inhumane place. It is a place where they're treated with respect. but at the same time, they're treated as they should. They've broken the law, and there's a penalty for breaking the law, and we're optimistic they can be sent back to the country of origin and face the consequences they might, considering they might have fled the law from their home country as well. But look, America is a place of land and a land of opportunity, but we need to designate those opportunities for people who are willing to obey the law. I was just talking to someone just the other day, and they said they had to wait 10 years and spend thousands of dollars in order to get that green card first, and later became an American citizen after they passed the test. They played by the rules, and now they're productive members of the American public, paying taxes, but more importantly, they're living under the freedom of America and enjoying the opportunities they did not have in their home country. All right, next we have Sharon from Vieira.
Yes, hi, Mike. It's Sharon Rose from Vieira. I have the main question I have is, first off, I want to say the big beautiful bill is really great. I want to say that, and please tell the president that I'm so happy that he's finally not putting taxes on our Social Security benefits. That's one of the greatest pieces of this bill. But my question on that is, I know that most people will benefit from this, maybe about 88%, but I'm wondering about the other percentage, the people that aren't going to get that tax break. And who would that be?
Well, first of all, on the Social Security taxes, just like I talked about with overtime and tips, those are retroactive. And so you're going to be benefiting from that throughout the year, not just moving forward. And as you probably heard, you get a $6,000 deduction per person, up to $75,000, $12,000 overall if you're a couple. As far as who is not getting a break there, the only group. Well, first of all, the old 2017 tax policies are now permanent. Had we done nothing, there would have been a 23% tax increase if we'd done nothing, because they would have reverted to the Obama tax rates. The other people who didn't get a tax cut were the wealthy. As you know, that their tax rate stayed the same at 37%. But we tried to really help out those people on Social Security who earned tips, who earned overtime. We've also given a child tax credit increase up to $2,200 per child. We think that's also, again, an important measure that's in place for working families as they try to struggle through the last few years. And so that was our goal. We're continuing to look at all different types of things to further grow the economy. But the best way we can help people is to create a more vibrant economy so those workers can demand a higher wage because their jobs are in demand, and that those workers are in demand, and everybody wins in that regard. So we're excited about backing up our campaign promises. The other side really just said, no, we think that they should raise taxes. I just can't believe the other side's arguing for raising taxes. It just blew my mind, and that they would not want to, secure our border and do just common sense things. But if you watched me on C-SPAN, if you got bored enough, or even following us online, you'll know that I'm talking in a positive way about America, how this should be the land of opportunity, affording economic goals that we all want to attain for not only ourselves, but most importantly our kids. And we want to make America the manufacturing capital of the world again, where whether you work a white-collar or blue-collar job, you can provide for your family. But it's important that we offer incentives to work. Next, we have Nick from Melbourne. I think he's got a question potentially about space. Nick, are you there? Nick, did we catch you? All right, it looks like Nick did not make it. But, Nick, to answer your question about space, big picture, the great news is, and you probably heard this, the billions of dollars that have been invested by companies like Blue Origin, SpaceX, and others in our community is amazing. These are jobs that pay $80,000, $100,000 right out of high school. We're actually working with our high schools right now so that students can get the skills necessary to go right into those high-paying jobs if they choose not to go to college. The big new beautiful bill allocated $10 billion additional dollars to NASA and helping us making sure the orbiter is in place. You have what's called the Artemis mission, which will take us to the moon. Those will be funded through Artemis 5, which will take us into the 2030s. We received about $250 million to help out on KSC specific for infrastructure, so we can be the launch pad to the stars for not just NASA, but all these commercial companies that are coming online. But bottom line is, we are truly the Space Coast once again because of these investments we've made. These are amazing new jobs for our kids coming out of high school or college with the STEM programs we've been talking about throughout this call. And I am just so proud to be the chairman of the Space Subcommittee with all this exciting thing happening. Because remember, just a few years ago, we had to rely on the Russians to actually get into space. So it's a wild time in America, but the best thing about this is that when you have a strong space program, you have a strong military, and you can combat, as other people were calling about earlier, talking about China, that we can face that threat head on and make sure we win this de facto war with China, because it's a major, major concern that I have. I think David from Vero Beach asked about the China question. So remember, if you have a question, press *3 to ask that question. We have Carol on the line. Something about insurance. Carol, you're up.
Yes. Being a senior, the insurance rates keeps going up. It's like for the health insurance, we get so much for our Social Security raise, and by the time the health insurance comes around, it takes up all the increase that we get from the raise on our Social Security. Plus our house insurance and our car insurance and so on continues to rise. Is there anything in the works to speak to that?
Well, Carol, it's a fair question and a good one. First, let me talk about the dynamics of home insurance and car insurance. I don't want to push this off, but those are two policies that are set individually by state. The state is in control of the property insurance issue. They're also in charge of the car insurance issue. The policies that they pass in the state legislature back in Tallahassee are the ones that drive those rates. I know they've been working hard on that, especially on tort reform, meaning lawyer reform there. Hopefully, and I'm one of those people who I think we had about a 400% increase over the years on our property insurance. We're really challenged by that. As far as health insurance for seniors, that's why we put that tax cut in for Social Security. You've worked a lifetime to earn Social Security and Medicare. It's the reason why we didn't take away any benefits of Medicare either. We want to make sure that's a rich, vibrant program for people who have earned that benefit. And also that case where by going after fraud, waste, and abuse in the Medicaid program, that helps Medicare recipients. And let me explain to it really as I can best. What happens is that Medicaid really doesn't reimburse hospitals for the coverage. And so that causes more pressure on Medicare costs, let alone private insurance costs. And so by cracking down on Medicaid fraud and taking it away from illegal aliens, that should help alleviate some of the potential increases in overall health care costs. And as you probably know, we're also looking at tort reform measures there, and also more choice. A lot of people like health savings accounts as opposed to traditional paper service accounts, and that has been in some cases a way to save money. Medicare Advantage might be something you want to look at as well. Some people like that better than traditional Medicare. But again, it's whatever fits your needs. We want to give you that flexibility to pick what you think best. Also, for those people on the call, I think we've got at least 6,000 on the line now throughout this call. If you press *6, you can sign up for a weekly newsletter. One thing, kind of like I am tonight, I am very verbose. And I believe it's really important you know exactly what's going on in Washington, D.C. I almost like to provide you with too much information so that you feel like you know what's really going on in Washington. I hate when they hide the ball. It's the reason why Rick Scott and I created what's called the Ledger Act. That's where all the government spending will finally be online for everyone to see, not just the people who work for DOJ. I think it's essential that when you add transparency to spending, put more spending in the sunshine, that sure enough, you'll have a situation where those government bureaucrats will be smarter with the way they spend your money. So again, *6 if you want to sign up for our newsletter. We usually put it out at least once a week, and you can always go to our website or our social media pages. We're always informing you of what's going on. In fact, if you didn't hear earlier on the call, I actually passed a bill off the floor of the Congress today, which makes it easier for small businesses to to go public. All right, next we have Ron from, it just says Brevard. So, Ron, are you on the line?
Yes, sir. I appreciate your hard work there, Mike, and thank you for all you've done for us.
Well, thank you.
I was wondering, with all the development going on in Brevard County, it doesn't seem that the wastewater treatment are keeping up with all the high-density buildings going up, and they've always had accidental releases, into the Indian River. Why are there pipes going into the Indian River to start with, and is the infrastructure keeping up with the growth?
Well, that is a real challenge, as you know. It is a real issue, Ron. And living here since the late 1980s, I've seen the remarkable growth because it's just a beautiful place to live. We fought for and were able to get over $7 billion into these types of programs, what they call waste and stormwater treatment programs. And within some of the appropriations that I was able to get in this bill that we're working on, they're specific to this issue. We want to make sure that those discharges don't take place. My new fellow congressman, actually from Brevard, Randy Finewood, is fining cities if they discharge. As you know, it's we live on the water. We're blessed to live there, and we know that our property values are dependent on that. All of us, the better our quality of life we have, the better value our biggest investment, that being our home, can have. And so we fought for those dollars. We got them. If you go to our website, I think we'll be putting out pretty soon the specific programs we got put into place to help with the wastewater issues, because we want to make sure those rivers stay clean and get cleaner, and that we have a high quality of life, and the hygiene that's also important for our health is preserved. Next, we have Laura about, I think, a question on education. Laura,
yes,
are you there?
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Laura.
I'm just curious, as a teacher here in Brevard County, when the Department of Education is dismantled and all of the funding gets sent to the states, will teacher salaries be able to be increased with that money?
Well, first of all, I think they should be. As a former teacher myself, there's no bigger civil right than a great education. And as you know, probably, Laura, I'm not sure if you're in Brevard or Indian River County, but you all earned an A grade again. Bravo. I'm proud of the schools there. I mean, being a former teacher, it used to be Brevard Community College where I taught U.S. history. It was amazing watching when I first started teaching back in 1993, the changes that took place and the quality of students that are coming out because of the amazing work that our teachers do. And I think it's vital that we put those incentives in place to reward our teachers. And just so people know, only about 10% of a state's education budget comes from the federal government. But what's scary is that 47 cents out of every dollar is spent by the states in regulatory compliance, meaning overhead cost is almost half that amount. And that's just ridiculous. And that's why, we've seen some great gains being made, as I mentioned, in Florida. And the more options that parents have to send their kids to the school of their choice to meet their principles and their values, the better. But Florida, as you know, has been increasing teacher pay, and it's because you all have been doing an amazing job, and we want to reward success. That's the American way. It shouldn't be based on the amount of time you're teaching. It should be based on the quality of work you're doing. And clearly, given the fact that Brevard again earned an A grade, I proudly put that on our social media last week. I'm excited that we can do even better. And if we put those dollars back to the state, meaning it never comes to Washington, that should actually reduce our overhead costs and allow the school board to decide to put more money into teachers and bring the best and brightest to educate the next generation of Americans. We have Alexa from Palm Bay. If you can, your question, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Alexia. I'm from Palm Bay. I'm just curious, what is Congress doing to help the district and Florida as a whole with its infrastructure, with all the new people moving to Florida and the tourism out of control? I know every time I go back home, the traffic is insane, the congestion, all that. So what is Congress and what are you doing to help relieve the district and help support its infrastructure?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We just had a question I think Ron asked me this question a few questions ago. I know there's a lot of them, but that is vital for us on the wastewater front. As you know, in the last few years, one of the things that I drove when I was leader of the Senate is to widen I-95, to widen 192, of course, our hurricane evacuation route. We've also built what's called the Palm Bay Beltway to try to alleviate some of the traffic over on the western portion of Palm Bay, but it is growing fast, and that's a partnership that we have with the state and the local governments. We do everything I can to alleviate that, because I think it's a quality of life issue. The more time you have to spend on the road, the less time you can spend with your family. And so we're putting huge investments in transportation. And just recently I got money from Washington to make sure that the Minton Road area that's become more congested around the airport in the Melbourne area is funded so that we can widen Minton Road and take away some of those traffic concerns. It's really important that I keep my ear to the ground, and my job is not to tell the locals what to do. In fact, it's just the opposite. I want to hear from the locals. That's why I'm working with Palm Bay, Melbourne, West Melbourne, Vero Beach, Titusville, you name the city, and we're getting their information, and we're asking for dollars from Washington to help alleviate some of these traffic concerns, let alone the wastewater issues that was asked earlier by Ron. Thanks for your question very much, Alexa from Bombay. We have John from Vero Beach. John, you're up. John, are you there? I think he's from Vero. I'm sorry we lost John there, but John was asking something about congressional insider trading. Well, John, I think this is a problem too. I've heard all these things about Nancy Pelosi through the years and so forth. Here's what I've done. First of all, in the campaign, I said that if elected, I would divest all of my stocks. I have done so. We are only in mutual funds, and those are decisions made by my stock person. And I've also come out publicly saying that congressmen shouldn't be allowed to trade individual stocks, period. I think it's the wrong thing to do. I think the best way to clean up Washington and to make sure the perception of Washington changes that members of Congress no longer trade stocks. I think it's the wrong thing. And that's why I've supported Speaker Johnson in that effort. And as I've said before, all of my public information is out there. I think my financial disclosure, you name it, it's something no family likes to have to do, but I put it out there because you deserve to know what my wealth is and is not. And but my wife and I have divested from all individual stocks. We think that's the best way to show that, just like anybody else, we're not going to benefit from insider trading at all. All right, so we're getting ready to close up. I think we spent a solid hour. My voice, hopefully, I think is showing it now. Sorry about that. It's not easy talking for an hour straight. But remember, press *6 if you want to sign up for our newsletter. And let me just close. One of the questions we're getting a lot is this Epstein issue, and I think logically so. Over the last years, we heard so much about it. As I mentioned before, I think the best thing the DOJ can do could just release all the information and let the cards fall as they wish. That's just the reality of politics today, and I think the more transparent we are, the better. It's the same reason I think that not only should social welfare programs be analyzed, but I think the Defense Department as well. Let's have those audits in place so people know where the money's going. It's always a good thing. The great disinfectant that I talked about earlier is sunshine, and when you have a more transparent society, the better. It's the same reason I don't trade stocks. It's the same reason we're so aggressive about getting information out, and why we want you to sign up for our newsletter by pressing *6, because you deserve to know how your tax dollars are being spent, what your member of Congress is doing, what I'm promoting, and moving forward. So I appreciate everyone on the call tonight. I know we had thousands on. I know a lot of people say, why do you do it this way? It's pretty simple. I could hit thousands of people. You don't have to drive a half an hour to come see me. You can go listen firsthand to these questions. We tried to cover the gamut today. So thanks again for your time, and you can always tune in on C-SPAN, but we are on our way to go vote, and I look forward to see you all back in the district real soon. Thanks again.